Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to day 4 of the Advanced Course 2024. And this week we are exploring the 3 principles. And today is the day where we explore the principle of thought. And here's the reason why I don't necessarily think this is going to take people up into their heads. Because the principle of thought is not your thinking. That's the output. That's a use of the gift of thought. The principle of thought is not positivity or negativity. It's simply the creative force. The principle of thought is not what you think and does not, in fact, tell you what to think and does not imply a right and wrong way to think. It is simply a tool that when we use it in certain ways, we get a certain experience of life. We live in a certain kind of reality. And when we use it in different ways, we live in a different experience of life, a different reality. So it was occurring to me that if you'd like to hear something new about thought today, one thing that might help is to dismiss anything that sounds like it's about the content of your thinking or what you should think. So when you have ideas like, oh, okay, so I should think this or should I think that? But when I have this thought, oh, you know what? I always think like just for the purposes of our exploration today, put all that down if and as it arises, because that's not the principle of thought. That's its effect. It would be like if we were having a conversation about paintbrushes and you wanted to keep showing me your paintings. Like, it's not crazy. They're related, but it's not the same conversation. And today, I want to have a conversation about the paintbrush. I want to have a conversation about the magic crayon, Harold's purple crayon, for those of you who remember this story. So one of the metaphors I love for thought at the moment, because I'm a geek, is Mystique from the X-Men. Now, if you don't know Mystique and you don't fancy Halle Berry, fair enough, don't get it. But Mystique is the character who can appear as anyone. Like, that's her power. She can completely replicate another being. And so people are constantly think they're talking to their dog or to their friend or to their partner or to their kids or to the world, or they think something's happening in the world. And then at some point, Mystique reveals herself and they go, oh, God, we fell for it again. That's the principle of thought. Now, in X-Men lore, there is one character who Mystique can't fool, and it's Wolverine. And the reason Mystique can't fool Wolverine is because he can smell her. So no matter what she looks like, she always has the same smell. Well, in the same way, we can't see thought by what it looks like, but we can smell thought by feeling. We can feel, oh, that doesn't have the feel of solidity. That has the feel of thought. That doesn't have the feel of a spiritual reality. That has the feel of form. And you may need to hone that sense a little bit until you're as good at spotting thought as Wolverine is at spotting Mystique. But that's the game. Learning to use thought, learning to see thought as a power, as a capacity, as a gift, not, do you know, if you think nicer thoughts, you'll have nicer feelings, which is true. It is true. Not true. But most people kind of know that, and it doesn't make as much of a difference as they'd hope. So I'm not gonna read all, but I'm gonna read a few excerpts from Sid Banks' Missing Link, the chapter on thought, page 47. Thought is a divine tool, nothing more, nothing less, only a tool. A wise person, like a good tradesman, uses this tool to the best of his or her ability. Okay. So that would suggest we're not victims of this power. It's not set up to get us. Like we're the ones, I don't remember which side, this is where my X-Men knowledge falls off, but like Mystique, whichever side Mystique's on, they use Mystique. The other side is tricked by Mystique, right? We're both. But ultimately, Mystique works for us. Thought is our gift. It's our tool. And we can get good at using it when we use it consciously and wisely and learn. Or, if thought is like a precision screwdriver and we just kind of keep trying to use it like a hammer, I mean, some stuff will happen, but it won't feel like it's that helpful. If thought is like, as Sid would say, a magical paintbrush, but we use it to pet the dog, like because it feels really nice, the bristles. That's what the dogs tell me. Well, that's not making great use of the gift, the power of thought. The power of thought is not self-created. We are thinkers, but we did not invent thought. Thought came with the kit when we were born. Thought is a divine gift which serves you immediately after you were born. In others, we've grown up with it. There was never a time we didn't have it, which is one of the reasons why it's so invisible to us so much of the time. Thought is the creative agent we use to direct us through life. In other words, thought can be your best friend, this gift of thought, this power of thought. It is not the enemy. But if you don't recognize it, if you don't learn to use it wisely and kindly, it can wreak havoc. Like, anyone remember The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia? I don't know why. That was a movie that I must have really liked as a little kid, because a couple years for my birthday, my parents would show Fantasia, and my favorite bit was The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And then one day I think I got, like, I'd eaten too much. I was 6 or something, and I had a really bad headache, and I hallucinated The Sorcerer's Apprentice for the next like month and could never watch the movie again. If you go on YouTube and just watch that clip, you'll see just how scary that would be to hallucinate as a 6-year-old. But it's this same thing. There's this power, but he doesn't really know how to use it. And unwittingly, he wreaks havoc. But it's okay, because the wiser part of him, the wise sorcerer, comes in and hoofs it away. Because that's the thing about thought. No matter how real and solid it looks, it's made of ephemera. It's made of fairy dust. And it's gone. Thought is the master key that opens the world of reality to all living creatures. Thought is the missing link that gives us the power to recognize the illusionary separation between the spiritual world and the world of form. Like, that's cool to me. That this gift of thought serves as a constant reminder of the formless reality from which we come, of which we are made. Because every time I see thought I see something that looks solid and suddenly I go, ooh, Mystique? Thought? Is that you? It it takes me back home. It reminds me, oh, I come from a place where everything is possible because I come from nothing and everything comes from no thing. Thought on its own is a completely neutral gift. Back to neutrality. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not positive, it's not negative, it's not good or evil, it's not right or wrong. It's just a potential. Here's the line, here's the kicker. Here's the one which, like, this would have been the mic drop for me. He keeps writing after this bit, but I would have stopped here. Thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created. That's the power of thought. It's not reality, but it is that which makes up our reality. And because it's an ephemera that appears solid, it is pure formless energy that can appear as form. That means that our personal realities are ephemeral. They're up for grabs. They're not fixed. So when we talk about the power of thought, we're really not talking about better ways of thinking. We're certainly not talking about the right way to think or what to do about thoughts we don't like. All of that stuff sort of takes care of itself when we really get a feel for what we're playing with. The infinite creative potential. It feels to me like there are stories like this. I can't think of one specific, but I can imagine my brother-in-law. He's in his 60s now, and he's been uh, a jazz musician. I mean, he got his first guitar at the age of 2, might have been 3, like his 3rd birthday, I think. Well, had you handed me a guitar on my 3rd birthday, I suspect I would have been so delighted with my new baseball bat that it would have been great until it wasn't. But he somehow sensed the power he had been given. He was playing music on it at the age of 3. And he spent his life learning it, mastering it, learning from others who'd learned to master it, and finding his own unique way of using it and creating with it that delights him and has delighted certainly tens of thousands of people around the world. If you gave a person at the right age in the right frame of mind their first typewriter and paper, their first pen and parchment, their first quill and whatever people who had quills wrote on, some people would go, oh, this is fantastic for poking people in the eye. I love it. Thank you so much for this gift. But somebody who caught a glimpse of its potential and its power would learn to write, would learn to tell stories, would become a master of creating through language because of the gift of the quill and recognizing that gift for what it was. Like my brother-in-law recognized the gift of the guitar for what it was, a gateway to creation. if you gave the right person at the right time a paintbrush and paints and a canvas. Now, if you know, you gave it to, I don't know, my sister at a certain age, she might have really loved it and tied it to the back of one of her dolls so that it would have long brown hair and be more like a mermaid. But somebody else would recognize its raw potential and would start daubing paint on a canvas, would start playing with the power of creation. And over time, without ever losing sight of their magic paintbrush, their paintbrush, the quill pen, the guitar, would be their favorite gift because it opened up the power to create. That is what the gift of thought is for us. When we were given the gift of thought, if we didn't recognize it for what it was, we learned to use it to entertain ourselves, which is cool. We learned to use it to scare ourselves, which is fun until it isn't. We learned to use it to abuse ourselves and give ourselves shit about anything, including how badly we're using our paintbrush and how badly we're using our guitar and how badly we're using our quill pen. But the moment you hit your first pure note on the guitar, even if it's by accident, the moment you daub some paint onto the canvas and go, that looks cool. The moment you scribble something with your pen and you read it and you go, huh, I like that. Now, the gift is as good as new. It's not too late. It's not damaged. You can start now to learn, to deliberately create realities that you want to live in. And just your own inattention and lack of interest will cause the old realities to go back into the formlessness from which they were created. That's the power of thought. That's the gift of thought. And if you're not in awe of it, well, then you're not really getting it. I mean, I have a jokey, I call the HFMOG test, which is if somebody is learning about the principles and sharing the principles and going, oh yeah, I get this. And at some level, they're not going, holy fucking mother of God. They're not seeing it. Now, I know linguistically, many Brits particularly have told me that they prefer BJIGO to HFMOG, which stands for by Jove, I've got it. But it's the same thing. It's just that recognition of this awesome power. We don't even know. It's not just that we hold it in the palm of our hands. We wield it with our heart. We wield it with our soul. We wield it with our mind. And we're all so aware of what has already been painted, what has already been created, and we're trying to fix it. Well, why would you fix it? Why not just paint something fresh? Why not just paint something new? There's a Zen story about a master artist who was commanded stroke hired by the king to create a painting that would evoke peace in anyone who looked on it, the peace of the Buddha. And he told them, I will do it, but you have to give me a year. And, you know, from time to time, emissaries from the king would come just to check, but he wouldn't let them in. He wouldn't let them see what he was doing. But then finally, on the day the painting was due, the captain of the guards came and insisted on being let in. And he said, well, let me see. And he said, it's not done yet. And the captain of the guard said, well, it has to be done now, so let me see what you've got. And to his horror, the painter let him into his studio, and there was just a blank canvas on the easel. And he was furious, and he started reading him the riot act and telling him about all the things that would be done to him and his family for letting down the king. And the painter said, no, it's okay. I'll do it for you now. And he walked up to the canvas, and in a matter of minutes, he created a masterpiece, almost without his brush ever leaving the canvas. And at first, the captain of the guard and the guards were just amazed at the speed with which he painted. But then they were struck by the painting itself. They could feel the peace of the Buddha as they looked upon the painting. And no longer in anger, but in awe, the captain of the guard said to the painter, but if you could do this in 5 minutes, why did you wait till today? Why did you ask for a year? And the painter said, I'll show you. And he took him to a closet, large closet, supply closet, and he opened it, and thousands of paintings fell onto the floor. The thousands of attempts he had made at creating that reality before creating the one that truly evoked the peace of the Buddha. It doesn't matter what you have used the gift of thought to create right up until this moment. You can stick it all in the supply closet. The only creation that matters is the one you paint today, the music you play today. The story you write today. And it may be informed by what you've written and painted and created before, but that information might simply be not that. It might have no flavor of the old at all because you tasted the old and it smells like thought. That is the power that we all have to change our lives, to change our worlds, to be in the world that we have created, and to love it, and to be in awe of it, and to marvel that it was our hands, our minds that brought it into being, but to marvel even more that we were given the tools with which to do it. And no matter how beautiful your creation today, what might you create tomorrow? What might you create the next day? What might you create on and on and on into the future? And how lovely that when you view the creations of others, instead of judging them, yeah, that one's really good. Ooh, that one's really bad. Ooh, how could they do that? We simply see them for what they are. The unconscious movement of the magical paintbrush. And we can trace those pictures back from painting to paintbrush and from paintbrush to source. The paintbrush is what lets us experience the master painter. The existence of the guitar is what lets us experience the master musician. The experience of reading what has been written by the quill is what introduces us to the master author. This is the principle of thought, not my thinking, not my habits of thought. Like if I'm in the habit of painting dark clouds every morning before I begin my day, okay. But the second I realize that it's my paintbrush to wield, I don't have to do it one more second. I literally get a new blank canvas in every single breath. That's how fast things can change. That's how quickly an old reality can dissipate and a new reality come into being. Now, here's a little tip from the field, right? One painter to another, one writer to another, one musician to another. If you let your hand be guided, what comes through that paintbrush is beyond your imagination. If you get still and quiet, almost like there's an antenna attached to the back of your quill, and it's just taking in the words and moving your hand, taking your brush and moving it across the canvas, taking your fingers and moving them on the guitar. The music that gets created, the art that gets created, the story that gets created, the reality that you now live inside. You're surrounded by beauty, and it's yours. And even though it was created through your hand, you get to be the first to see it, the first to appreciate it, the first to be struck by it. Like, the first person to hear Beethoven's Third? Beethoven. I hope he loved it. The first person to see the Mona Lisa wasn't Mona. It was Leo. The first person to read the Tao Te Ching? Lao Tzu. The first person who gets to enjoy your creation today? You. And that's kind of a cool thing. Like, you might be more of a big deal than you think you are. When I first taught Super Coach Academy and taught this as part of it, I remember, I think it was 2012, we actually got t-shirts printed up with the phrase, I know it's just my thinking, but ... on the back, because that's what everybody wound up saying. Like, that was the phrase that pays. That was the thing that most people talked about. Because at that point, I didn't see, or I was unable to articulate the power of thought to literally create reality. thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created. So we wound up talking about our thinking about reality. But you can change your thinking about reality and you'll just get a slightly nicer feeling. Or you can change your mind and find yourself walking in a new reality. Sid said, if you want to help people, you can try to help people. But if you really want to help people, show them a new world, a new reality, and get out of their way. You have a magical paintbrush, a divine guitar, a, a, a magic quill. You've had it since birth. You've used it unknowingly and unwittingly. You have a magic mirror that reflects all life, a magical movie screen that will take anything that you paint and with consciousness bring it to life on the screen, sparked by the electricity of mind. Have fun with it. Play with it. You know, there's a phrase, and I don't know if it originated with somebody famous, but there are variations on it. Make today your masterpiece. Make each day your masterpiece. Well, that's long before behavior. It's not about what you do. It's an invitation. What are you going to create today? What reality are you going to walk in today? And it's okay if you throw out 300 paintings before you paint one that evokes the peace of mind, the peace of the Buddha, the peace of God. It's okay if it takes you 3,000 tries, because each one you'll learn from. And some of them will just be fun. But you're not stuck with yesterday's canvas. You're not stuck with yesterday's song. Even if they play it on the radio, you don't have to sing along. You can make a new song right here, right now. And you get to be the first one to hear it and enjoy it. And when you fall in love with your song, when you fall in love with your story, when you fall in love with the art and the music of life that come through you, there's a pretty good chance other people are going to love it too. They're going to be drawn to it. And if you're moved to, you can share it with them so that they can enjoy it. And if at some point you notice somebody looking a little more curiously at your art and maybe smelling what it's really made of, then you can teach them about their magical paintbrush, about their magical guitar, about their magical quill.